Alright, so today we're going to take a look at EchoBoy Jr. from Soundtoys. It's a delay plugin, and what's nice about this delay plugin is that it has 7 different modes built in, so you can go from various emulations of tape delay, and some other hardware units are built into this plugin. So you get up to 7 different variations of delay coloring that you can use. There's also a built-in saturation, so you can get a little distortion or saturation or color on your delay tails as well, and some of the usual delay feedback. But this is definitely laid out differently from how the stock Logic delays are laid out, and so I thought it would be good to go over the plugin and kind of cover some of the parameters and a few different ways we can use it. If you're catching this when this tutorial comes out, when this tutorial goes live, it is currently available, I believe, for free. So follow the link in the description and see if it still is, and grab yourself a copy. I'll be sure to put a link in the pinned comment as well. So if you're new here and you're not familiar with me or the channel, you're checking out Logic Band. It's a place full of tips, tricks, and tutorials to help blind musicians and producers use Logic like a pro. So we got a project open here. Let's go ahead and give this a quick listen, and we'll talk about loading up the plugin, some pros and cons of it, and how we can take advantage of it. So we got a couple vocal tracks here. We got a main vocal,
track 144 chorus double 1,
backing vocal on the left,
track 145 chorus double 2,
and backing vocal on the right. So we got those 3 vocals, and we're gonna pay attention. We're gonna pay attention to the main vocal. So I'm gonna mute
track 144 chorus double 1,
the
muted.
2 doubles,
track 143 chorus,
and now we got just that main vocal, right? And I already have some effects on these tracks, so I got EQ and a couple instances of the Logic compressor just to EQ and compress this vocal a little bit. Just kind of got a quick mix going here, because generally speaking, I like to throw delays and reverbs and things of that nature on after the EQ and compression, and that's generally how it's done. Okay, so I got the plugin pulled up here. And one thing I noticed with EchoBoy is it doesn't have a mono to stereo version. So especially on something like a vocal track, it's only going to give you a mono version. For now, let's just kind of go over the controls and kind of get familiar with them. So I'm just going to hit VO end, that's VO-E-N-D, the end key on the keyboard. And that will take me to the end of this window where we have the table with the parameters, because we still have the plugin window open.
Table, row 1 of 4.
And if you're on a laptop, that's going to be VO, FN, and the right arrow to jump to the end of the window there. So VO, FN, and the right arrow is VO end on a laptop, or you can just hit VO end if you have a full-size keyboard. All right, so I'm going to interact with this table.
In table, bypass, off slider, 0.
And
input gain, 0.0 bypass, off.
We have bypass,
input gain, 0.0 output gain, 0.0 decibel slide.
Output gain,
mix, 40.0%.
Mix, and you see the mix is set to 40%. So mix has to do with how much of the delay signal is being blended in. When you're using it directly on the track, like the vocal track or whatever track you want to put delay on, like a guitar track or something like that, whenever you have this plugin directly on the track, you're going to have to use the mix control, because otherwise you don't have a way of blending in the direct signal and the delayed signal. So if I adjust this mix control,
40.0% slider,
and just interact in VO right, it says it's at 40%. I'm going to interact with this.
39.9, 39.8%, 40.0%.
You see that's moving in really small increments. I just did VO left and right, and you see it went to 39.9, 39.8. So I'm going to stop interacting.
Auto slider.
I'm going to VO right again.
40% slider.
And we have the secondary slider, and this slider is nice because it moves in 5% increments.
Slider.
So I can
35%,
35,
30%, 25%.
So you see it's moving in 5% increments.
20%, 15, 10%, 5, 0.
So I take this all the way down to 0. You don't hear any delay, and as I turn this up, I'm going to solo the vocal here.
5%, 10%, 15%.
You're starting to hear the delay blended in with the vocal, right?
20%, 25%, 30%, 35%, 40%, 45%, 50%.
And when you get to 50%, you now have a 50-50 blend of the dry signal and the wet signal. And as you go above 50%, you're going to have pretty much just the delay signal and less of the dry signal. As you get to 100%, you're going to have only the delayed signal and none of the dry signal. You definitely want to have some of the dry signal in there. Otherwise, it's just going to sound like everything is late. So let me show you what I mean. If I on-solo this,
56, 8, 8, 9, 9, 1.
crank this up to 100%. Because you're only hearing the delay signal, it sounds like the vocals coming in late. Versus
95%.
took it back down to 0%, so there's no delay now. So see, when it's at 100, just cranked it up to 100. Sounds like the vocal's late because there's no dry signal there. So you definitely want to blend this in. Generally, unless you're going for some kind of cool effect or whatever, you're probably going to stay under 50% when using this on a vocal track. Now I'm going to set it back to 40% where it was.
9, 8, 80, 60, 60, 55, 50%, 45%, 40%.
Because that is usually a good place. You want it a little higher while you're dialing it in, so that you can hear what it's doing, and then once you have it dialed in, you can blend it in with the mix control. All right, so let's stop interacting
Auto slider,
here.
mode, wide slider, 50% slider.
Now we have three modes. We have normal, wide, and ping pong. You're not going to hear much of a difference right now because we're on a mono track, and I'll show you what I mean. Normally speaking, normal is going to be your normal, mono mode. Your default, the boring mode, as I like to think of it. And then you have wide, which means it tries to widen the delay so you hear it a little bit on the left and the right. And then you have ping pong, where you hear it on the left, then the right, then the left, then the right. So that's the difference between the three modes. And like I said, you're not going to hear much of a difference now.
Wide,
let's
slider,
set this to ping
pong.
pong. Because it's on a mono track, you're not hearing it go left and right. So, all right, let's stop interacting.
Style, studio tape pop-up button.
We have style, and this is what it's talking about. There's 7 different modes or colorations you can think of where it's emulating different pieces of hardware. So this one,
style, studio tape pop-up button.
Studio tape is a classic tape machine. In fact, I think there are plugins of just this tape machine as well if you want to get some tape warmth and saturation on your projects. But there is tape. There's this tape machine. There is a worn out tape. And let's go through some of these quickly. I just feel space on the list.
EchoPlex.
So we have EchoPlex. That's emulating a popular Echo rack unit, delay rack unit.
Space Echo.
Space Echo is a Roland Space Echo, another classic tape emulation.
Cheap tape.
Cheap tape. This is more cheap, worn out tape. So between the studio tape, the Space Echo, and cheap tape, you're going to have 3 different flavors of tape emulation here.
Memory Man.
Memory Man is a guitar pedal, so that one might be cool to try on, like, say, guitars and stuff. Doesn't mean it won't work on vocals and other things, but definitely something to try that on.
Ambient.
Ambient, I think this is kind of just kind of a diffuse, spaced out delay, so it kind of gives you a little ambient, almost kind of like a reverb almost.
Transmitter.
This is just a very lo-fi delay, and so this can be cool for like transitions or different sections, or if you need something lo-fi happening.
Transmitter.
And so
closing menu.
Just show you this one because it's very unique sounding. And especially in a mono mode like this, it really does kind of help the delay cut through a little bit more.
Menu.
Let's go back to
Echo. Studio
closing tape. So it does help with the delay cutting through, but it can also be a special effect. It just depends on what you want to do. And in a stereo mode, that might stick out way too much, a transistor. So, it might be something used for special effects in those cases. All right, let's keep rolling here. So those are 7 different modes.
Glide on slider, 100%
this
slider.
This glide, I think, just has to do with the delay making glitchy, glidey sounds if you change the parameters while it's in playback.
Style, glide, on slider, 100% in, on, in, off.
And off. So now,
Slider, echo mode, echo mode, 1/8 pop-up, echo time, 249.9
if you were
milliseconds.
to,
Echo mode, note pop-up button. Glide, off slider, in.
I'm just
going
going to turn this back
on.
on for now because we'll mess with this when we actually start going through this more in depth. But this basically is going to, if you turn it off, you can adjust the parameters. You can automate parameters without getting a pitchy glidey effect. But if you have it on, if you change the parameter while it's playing back, or you automate the parameters to change while it's playing back, you'll get some cool glidey pitchy effects. So that's just a matter of whether you want that or not.
Echo mode, note pop-up button.
And then echo mode, we have note, and this has to do with how the echoes are done. So when it's on note, if I go down to the next one,
echo note, 1/8 pop-up button.
you see it says eighth note. So right now the delays are an eighth note apart. So every time the dry signal hits, an eighth note later will be a delayed version of it. So let's change this to a quarter note.
1/30 second, 1/64,
let's go the
1/30
other
second,
way.
1/ check mark, 1/4 note.
There we go.
Closing
Quarter
menu.
note. So you see the delays are a little further
Menu,
away.
1/2 note.
Half
Closing
note.
menu.
So you see that might not work
Menu,
for something
21
like
1/4
this.
note. 1/8.
Go back to
Closing
the eighth
menu.
note. All right, so that's what note is, but I'm going to go back
Echo
up
mode,
here.
no pop-up button.
So I just view up to where it says note.
Menu, 5 items check mark.
You have 5 options here. If I view
Time.
up, time means it's going to use the millisecond slider, and I'll show you that in a second.
Check mark, note.
Note,
Dotted.
dotted. So instead of it being a quarter note, it'll now be a dotted quarter note, you know.
Triplet.
Triplet, same thing. Instead of being a quarter note, it'll now be quarter note triplets. So this just changes it from a straight note to a dotted note to a triplet.
Beats.
And then
Triplet, beats.
you have beats.
Beats.
Beats is essentially, I believe, to be the sync control. So if you want to just lock it to your project tempo. Now, if you have your project tempo set and you recorded everything to the actual tempo, then you can just use, you know, the note or dotted or triplet, and it's still going to technically be in sync to your project tempo, I believe. But if you're someone that like just records everything with the default, you know, project tempo 120, and you don't actually set the tempo to match the song you're working on, then in those cases you can still use the eighth note or, you know, quarter note or dotted eighth note or whatever, and it's just going to be a dotted eighth from whatever you're using and not really locked to the project tempo. So I believe that's the difference with beat. If you set your project to project tempo, you're probably going to be fine. If I get any clarification on that says otherwise, I will put it in the description or the pinned comment. All right, so let's
Menu, 5
switch
items check
this
mark.
back
Beats.
to
Triplet.
time.
Dotted, note. Time. Closing menu.
Because with time, you use the millisecond slider. So if I view
Echo
down,
note, 1/8 pop-up button.
you see eighth
Echo
note,
time, 249.9
and
millisecond
then
slider.
you see this time slider, right? So now if I
In, 240,
adjust
35.5%. In slot, 10.5.5%. 0.5. 5%. 65%.
and that, what you heard there, that glitching sound, is because that glide is on.
Auto
So
slider.
let me stop interacting
Echo
here.
mode. Echo mode. Time glide. On slider. In. On. Slider. In
Interact.
slider. Off.
Turn glide off.
Out of
Stop
slider.
interacting.
Echo time. 4,100 in.
No.
4,065%.
Just going to interact with the second slider over here.
In slider. 60, 50, 50, 40, 40, 35%. 30%. 0%. 5%. 20%.
And you see, I can adjust the time, and now there is no glitching or pitching or any of that. So if you have glide on, if you change the delay time while it's playing back, and like I said, this works for automation, then you'll get some glitching and pitch shifting and kind of detuning effects. But if you have glide off, it is smooth. So that's what the glide control does. All right, so we talked about the time.
Out of slide. Feedback. 0.30 slide.
We have feedback, and feedback is just how many repeats there are. So if we interact with this,
0.24%. Slider. In slide 20, 30, 34,
Break this
40,
up.
56, 84%.
so you see it's just constantly repeating, right?
79%.
If we turn this down,
29%. 24%.
it's a lot cleaner. Now, the way this feedback reacts is also going to be based on which of the 7 modes you're using. So the feedback is going to probably work slightly differently based on which of those 7 modes you have selected, you know, whether you're using one of the tape machines or the Memory Man guitar pedal or the Echoplex, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So
Auto slider.
let's stop interacting here.
Saturation 0.0.
Saturation. So this has its own saturation, so you can saturate your delays.
0.0%.
And
Slider.
if we turn
In
this
slider.
up,
5 for 10 for 20, 20, 30, 30, 40, 45, 50, 55 for 8, 9,
so the delays are being saturated, which saturation in a sense is a form of compression as well. So you're hearing those delays come up in level as well as they get distorted. So let's turn this back down to 0, and
Auto
that's
slider.
it for that
Low cut.
one.
Off slider.
Then we
0%.
have a low cut and a high cut filter. Now, if you've seen my general delay tutorials, the Logic stock delays have a low cut and high cut filter in there as well, and those come in handy for getting delays to sit in a mix with whatever it is you're delaying. So you generally want to roll off some of the low end and roll off some of the top end so that the delay is just mostly mid-range, and it'll help it kind of blend in with the dry signal a little bit more. So,
Off slider. In 0.00. 0.00.
so this does not tell
Auto
you
slide.
what the
0.5%
value
slider.
is. I believe it's
5.10
just a
20
number.
30.5. Auto 0.31. Slider.
You see 0.31.
30.5%.
And
Slider.
if I go to that second slider, it says 30.5%.
In slider. 55.5%. 50,
So
45,
you're gonna-
40.5%.
You're going to be adjusting this by ear because it's not letting you know what frequency you're rolling off at.
35.5, 40.45, 50.5%. 55.5%. 60.5%.
And then let's
Auto
see
slider.
the next one.
High cut. 0.0.
Is a high cut.
In. Hot 0.00. Slider.
And this is going to be
100%.
similar.
Slider.
So if I
In slider.
adjust this,
90, 85, 80%, 75, 70%, 65%, 60%.
and there we go. So let's see.
Auto 0.40. Slider.
See, it just says 0.40, right? So you can if you use this first slider, it's just going to give you a number from 0 to 1.
60%. Slider.
And if you use that second slider, you at least have a percentage, and you can move in increments of 5. So that's kind of why I use a second slider in the plugin windows. All right, so let's stop interacting.
High cut. 0.40. High cut.
And
Low cut. 0.
that's pretty much everything in this plugin. So let's see here. One other thing to keep in mind is you can actually use this as a tape emulation or saturation plugin without any of the delays. And I'll show you that quickly. So how to use EchoBoy as just tape emulation or saturation. So what you want to do, let's go back up. I'm going to view up arrow.
Feedback. Echo node. Echo mode. Glide. Off slider. Echo mode. Time pop-up button.
You want to find that echo mode. It's on time. You want to make sure this is set to time. So if it's set to note or dotted or beat, you want to VO space on this drop down menu and set it to time. And then let's
Echo node. 1/echo time. 120.0 mil.
you want to set this time all the way down to 0.
120 20%. In 15 5 0.
You want to use the millisecond
Auto
slider,
slider.
set that all the way down to 0. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to find the mix control. So I'm going to VO up.
Echo node. Echo mode. Glide. Off style. Mode. White mix. 40.0%
So
in. Mix.
you wanna set the
40.0.
mix
40% in. 4 5 6 6
to
7 8 8 9 9 1.
100%.
Auto slider.
So now
Mode. Style. Glide. Echo node. 1/echo time. 0 feedback.
Let's
0 saturation. 0 point in.
take the
Saturation.
saturation.
0%. Slide in.
Just
Slide.
gonna
5
crank
10%.
this
15 20%. 25%. 30%. 35%. 40%. 75%. 80%. 85%. 90%. 95%. 100%.
and I just cranked it up just to make it very obvious. And so if I were to
Heading not
bypass
found.
this,
Single key quick nav off.
so let's
EchoBoy Jr.
bypass.
Bypassed.
I told you the deep.
And if I hit accent to unbypass,
How I really feel. Ain't got feet.
and we can
Auto feedback. Echo node. Echo mode. Time glide. Off slider. 0 echo mode. Time pop-up button. Echo node. 1/8 echo time. 0.0 feedback. 0.0 in.
set this
0.4% in.
feedback down to 0.
5%. Auto echo node. Echo mode. Time pop-up
So-
button. Glide. Off style. Studio tape pop-up button.
The style. You can go through these different styles to see what kind of tape you want to use.
Menu. Echoplex. Space echo. Closing menu. Style. Space echo pop-up button. Sell 2 items.
So that's space
Menu.
echo.
Cheat memory man.
Let's
Ambient.
go to
Memory man. Cheat tape.
cheap tape.
Closing menu. Style. Cheat tape pop-up button. Sell 2 items.
So
Menu.
we can do
Transmitter. Closing menu. Style. Transmitter pop-up button. Sell 2 items.
So if you want a lo-fi effect, between the style and the saturation knob, you can adjust your tape coloration and saturation with this. So you want to make sure that the
Off table. Row 6. Intake glide. Off echo mode. Time pop-up button.
the echo mode time is set to time, not note or dotted or triplet or anything. You want to make sure that's set to time. You want to make sure your mix is set to 100%. And you want to make sure that your time, the millisecond slider.
Echo node. Echo time. 0.0 millisecond slider. 0% slider.
Echo time, 0 milliseconds. You want to set that millisecond slider all the way down to 0 milliseconds. And make sure your feedback is turned all the way down as well. Once you do those 4 things, you can use the drop-down menu to choose a mode, like a tape mode, and the saturation slider, and the high pass and low pass filters to dial in a saturation or tape and use it as a tape plugin that way. And one thing you can do is, if you want to, you can create a preset that has all those things already set. Call it like, tape machine or saturation or tape saturation or something like that. Just create a preset that has, your mix at 100%, your time set to time, your milliseconds set to 0, and your feedback set to 0, and make sure you're not on ping pong, and you should be good to go. Let's take a look
Bypass. Uncheck. But table. In tape. Echo node. 1/8 pop-up button. Echo mode. Time pop-up button.
Back
menu.
to note.
Closing menu. Echo node. 1/8 pop-up button. Menu. 1/16. 1/30 second. 1/16. Closing menu.
Note.
Echo mode. Glide. Off slider. 0 style. Transmitter pop-up button. Menu. Ambient. Memory. Cheap tape. Space echo. Closing menu.
Echo.
Mode. Wide slider. 50% slider.
And we're going to leave it
Mix.
on
100.0
wide.
in. 100 in. 80 55%. 50%. 45 40%. 35%. 30%. 25%. 20%. 15%.
Let's put this back in the mix.
20%. 15%. EchoBoy Jr.
So that's without it. I just bypassed it.
Bypassed EchoBoy Jr.
And now it's active again. So if you want to do like a slapback echo, you can set it to like a 16th note and bring your mix down. And that's one way you can use it on a mono track. That is EchoBoy Jr. Thanks for checking this out. If you want to grab it, like I said, it's currently free. If you're watching this the day it goes live, it's not going to be free for much longer. I think it's only going to be free for about 48 hours, and it's probably been about 24 hours by the time I get a chance to post this. So hit the link in the description below. Otherwise, SoundToys is giving away some other free plugins for the next few days, so you can hit that link in the description and see what the free plugin currently is and help yourself to a free plugin. If it's something else that I have or I can grab a copy of in time, I may make other tutorials on those, and I'll put a playlist in the description and pin comment if I do end up doing that as well. So as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for checking this out. If you found this super helpful and useful, please drop a thanks in the comment. Drop a super thanks if you'd like, and share it with someone that you think will appreciate tutorials like this as well. Otherwise, you can visit logic.band/training to book some one-on-one training. If you want to work with me directly, we can go over some of the ways you can use this, the ways you can set it up, and anything else that you want to do if you want to open up one of your projects, and let's work on it together and get it to a level where you're going to be happy with it to put it out. Otherwise, as always, thank you and happy recording.